Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. What's up, girl?
Good day. How's it going?
All right, you can open your pie hole now.
Actually, yeah, we had to start out that way, guys, because Amy can't ask me or say, I forget we're recording now, so I can say whatever I want to say now. But
Yep.
it's like we were sitting there talking, we were all in a hurry about getting our last video recording done, and we were, not having time to do anything after that, and had a little bit of a conversation that we could have recorded after that one. And then I was waiting on family to come out, and they were supposed to be, on time. And on that recording, we were talking about time. We
Yeah.
were talking about how you're like, oh, just go with the flow. My appointment canceled, and then Bev wants to go early. It's like, just going with the flow. Well, I had to go with the flow too, because it wasn't the time frame that my family had shown up was a lot later than what we had talked about.
Yeah.
So so it's being okay to be in those moments and be in the flow of things. And that's what we were talking about the last time. It's just being in the flow with all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, we
Because
have,
that's we're still in those moments.
yeah. Well, we have at work, we have several meetings after work for different reasons. And in one of them is one meeting is held every month on a certain day at a certain time. Well, the past two meetings for that, so we're in June right now, so May and April, we had a new person come on to that committee. And so in June, she was just having a fit because we combined an event volunteer meeting with the committee meeting, because a lot of the people on the committee was on the volunteer for this event. So it was like, well, we'll just combine them both and kind of mingle them. And then when we want to talk about the committee stuff, we can tell the volunteers, you can go or you can stay. Either way, we're now starting our committee. Well, this new member was having a fit because it wasn't, the committee meeting didn't start on time, and this is the second time, and you need to make sure you notify your members when you're not going to be starting a meeting. And she was just beside herself. Of course, me being me and my thinking process, I'm standing there going, man, she's got control issues. Man, she has no desire to be flexible about anything. She's definitely not in the space of everything happens for a reason. It's like I was just filtering through all this information in my head. I was standing there watching her and listening to her, because she was actually targeting one of my coworkers with this conversation. So I was kind of standing there listening. And of course, yeah, I got to process, am I showing up like that? How am I showing up? Do I say things, And so it was quite interesting. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times when you're trying to control the situation, or the thing, whatever the thing is, it usually turns into a lot of struggle and strife, which is super uncomfortable for everybody involved. And I mean, for the most part, a lot of that, like, you can complain as much as you want to, it doesn't change the situation. So, I think about when people are very abrupt or even aggressive when they're trying to get their point across. And then in my head, I'm thinking, is this really necessary? Like, why do we need to be like that? So it's interesting when it comes to time and the way people show up in themselves when you're not meeting their expectation, or their expectation is not being met.
Yeah. And the thing is, we've been there. Both you and I have been there. And
Oh,
and it's but now I'm on the opposite side of it, right? Just like you're on the opposite side of it. We're on the opposite side of it, like, okay, we'll be flexible. And then it's like things feel different. They evolve differently. Um, you get to see different things, like you got to see different things that were going on and recognize that, and then take time, taking inventory of self, and do I show up like this? I have shown up like this in the past. I have. And it's also knowing that that's worked with somebody. That has worked with somebody. That behavior, that manipulation, that's overbearing, controlling, all that stuff has worked with somebody. And probably it was learned from a parent or a teacher or a sibling or somebody close to them growing up, right? And that's worked. It's worked for a long time, but we're in this time space reality. That stuff doesn't work anymore. And I think it's working less and less and less. And then you actually sit back and you do see where someone's at in their struggles or in their bliss. Honestly, we can see both sides because we're taking the time to take a look at it. So it's kind of awesome. It is kind of awesome. And it's like I've been that person, just like in a rush to go to work. Hey, I take the back way now every single time I go to, almost every single time. Hardly ever do I take the highway because there's a different energy. And it's not because I'm avoiding things. And I've been processing that because I left the gym that I was going to for now. And then I started going to another place. And at first I was making up excuses about why I left. And then it's like, it wasn't about any of that stuff. We're not in a vibrational frequency match. Bottom line, that's it. That's all that it was about it. But initially my story was because I had to be like, well, I'm not doing it because of this, this, and this, like defensive. And it's like, that comes down to being a kid and, maybe your mom didn't believe you. And I had a sibling. So if my mom didn't believe me and my sister was the one that did it and I'm the one that's being accused of it, we become defensive about what we're doing with our time and everything else. And then we carry it on with us throughout our whole life. And then you get to 54 and you're like, I'm not carrying that anymore. This is not my stuff to carry anymore. And letting go of this stuff and just seeing it, just being aware of it. It's not something we kind of finished up on our conversation last time. It's not something that I'm striving for or that I'm practicing to do. It's just a natural unfoldment of this whole process that's happening for me. This meditation and stuff like that. I've talked about it a lot. You can listen to a lot of the videos and it seems like I was in a struggle with it, but just know, I know now that it was just spirit letting me know meditation's going to be the way. It's like all these seeds that were planted for me to be in the perfect temperature, the perfect sunlight, the perfect food coming in, the perfect everything, right? For it to be able to grow and for me to have an understanding about why would I do meditation? Because it's allowing, because I'm allowing myself to receive. What? Most people don't know how to receive. I didn't know how to receive. And it came all the way down to, it's not just oh, Amy got me something, I need to get her something, or, oh, thank you so much. It's not any of those kind of things. It's being in that space, even still, that I was not allowing myself to receive. I was not allowing myself to receive the messages from spirit. I wasn't allowing myself. And now I'm in that space where it just kind of unfolded that way. So when in the evenings or in the middle of the night, and I've talked about this before too, I wake up in the middle of the night, I don't look at the clock and be like, oh God, it's this time. I got to be up by this time. I don't do that anymore. I just don't. I just go to bed and it's like, if I wake up, that's an opportunity for meditation. That's all that it is. It's nothing more than that. Nothing more. And it's that simple. It's my perfect opportunity for me to create, right? Because I've had a few hours of sleep, maybe an hour of sleep, but I'm still reset. I'm still refreshed, a little bit better than I was when I first laid down. So it's like, we look at all these things and it's a matter of a choice. How do you want to look at it? And so when I look at it now, it's an opportunity.
And wouldn't it be great if we use that word more? Well, this meeting didn't start on time, but it could be an opportunity that I meet somebody new today because all these other different people are here, which I will say, I watched this lady during the meeting and she sat next to somebody. And by the end of the volunteer portion of it, they were sitting there having a great conversation. And I'm thinking, you were meant to have this conversation. And there's so
100%.
many opportunities. If you're being delayed for something, there's an opportunity of missing an accident or running into somebody else. If you're getting to the store a little bit later than you intended to, and you meet somebody that you haven't seen in a long time, but you've been thinking about them. And so I love that word opportunity because that's really what it comes kind of, it makes it more interesting, I think, by using that word instead of flexible, right? Flexible is like, well, I have to give more than everybody else. And some people could could relate to the meaning that way. But when you say this is an opportunity, then man, what are the opportunities? What are the possibilities? Because that meeting didn't start on time, because I was delayed, or because that the plans for that trip didn't work out. So that sounds so much more fun to me now. So I'm going to use that.
It's almost exciting, actually. There's more of an excitement behind it.
Yeah, like I felt better, like I was lifted up. I was like, oh, opportunities, this is cool.
Nice. I like it.
Right?
And I don't know, I don't even remember what we talked about so much as far as last time, but it's like I was telling you, I'm in this space, like Spirit's showing me things. Spirit is showing me things. And it's I could be sitting in, I'm in the kitchen and I'm looking at I have a mason jar and it has spirulina in it and it's low. And in my mind, I automatically was like, oh, that's something else I've got to buy, right? That's something and you feel, let's feel things. I felt the way that felt. And it's like Spirit showed me that full. And it's like, oh, and then what did I feel? I felt like excited. I was like, oh yeah. The thing is, when we're creating, if I'm going to create from this space. I'm going to visualize seeing that full. What does that feel like? What does that look like? And I know I've heard this, I've heard it a million times. I have, about this whole creating stuff, but it doesn't make sense until you start having the experiences of it, until you start feeling like you're lit up on the inside. It doesn't make sense until, but I'm not saying don't keep going and forging ahead and reading the stuff, because it's planting seeds. All of it is seed planting to get to the point. And I kept saying to Spirit, I want to feel excitement for life and joy, and what are my passions, and what is this looking like, and where am I going to go with all this stuff? And then it's like I think we were talking at the end of the thing, and I'm like writing down farm school, look up farm school grants, and look up grants for building your own farm or your own greenhouse or your whatever, looking at different things like that, exploring other options. Why? Because Spirit's give me other options. I would have never have thought about some of that stuff. Have I done the work? No. But it doesn't, for me, it planted the seed. It's an opportunity. And in the meantime, I'm still growing it in my mind. I'm still creating the whole time. I'm still in the space of visualizing it and fine tuning it and seeing what it looks like. Well, I can't, oh, maybe I could do that. Oh, but it would be so much more fun if I would do this. And gosh, and then seeing the kids, how they would be in that whole experience. I was talking to a family member recently, and we were talking about stuff, and I was talking about how we create, and it's like, it's being up in our mind, and it's in that creativity, right? It started with a thought. I don't think it's really our thoughts, but it starts with a thought, and if you want to claim it, go right ahead. But it's like, these thoughts come into the head and are presented to you, and it's like you can grow with it, or you can be just the same way that I was when I saw that spirulina. Oh, I had to go buy more. There's not enough in here. And it's like a lack of space, and it's a lower, it doesn't feel good. But I'm still creating from that space. And the thing is, I don't have to. So then I'm talking to him, and he's like, oh yeah. I said, you know how to visualize and do that stuff. I said, when you start creating like woodworking or any of that stuff, he says, yeah, it starts up here, and I start formulating it. Well, Spirit's right along with us throughout the whole thing, because we're open to receive. And that's the whole thing. It's just recognizing. I'm sitting here in a room, it's 92 degrees, and I got an ice pack on me, and I'm fine. I'm good with it, honestly, because I'm not creating from this space anymore. And I have been creating from this space for such a long time that now I'm recognizing, what does it look like? What do I want it to look like? So if I'm in that space, do I see myself sitting on the couch? There's carpet under my feet, and it's nice and cool in there. And I just feel like, oh, I get up. Maybe I've got a little blanket behind me, because sometimes it gets a little cool when I'm sitting in the house with the air conditioner on, because I have had those experiences. But it's being in that space and recognizing, and then experiencing the exhilaration, because I wasn't in appreciation even when I was experiencing that stuff. So now I'm in an opportunity of appreciation all the time with these things. So it's like I can look at it like, oh, because oh my God, I was doing it so bad. I was creating from such a shitty space. But I was doing it well, though. I will tell you, I was doing it really good.
We're usually really good at that one, because we've been doing it for so long.
Because it was so easy, right? It was familiar. That was the familiar. Now it's like it's exciting when you can be in the space of creating stuff, and it's being aware of who you can create with, right? It's knowing who you can talk to people about this stuff like this. Because I was talking to someone else even recently about a home that we're talking about building out here, and I could feel the energy shift. I could feel so many different things, but because I'm in a different space, I didn't allow it to shift my energy because I'm still in that creative space because I can see it. I mean, I can see it, and whether I ever get to it, I don't even care because I'm excited. Like I'm excited about the whole creativity process. The whole thing is fun, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and just what you just said about being really good, or we said about being really good about creating from that lower energy. Over the past week, it's just been a lot of, and this is pertaining to work. And when you're bringing in the work environment in to play, there's several different parties, involved. And so we've just been getting a lot of people complaining, and it really, I would say over half of it doesn't even pertain to our company, our organization, but they're complaining to us, right? And all like last week, I'm just like, what? And seriously, I'm like, what is going on? An internal thing, again, not saying it out loud to everybody else. Why are we getting all these complainers? Why are we getting all these complainers? What is happening? And it didn't, I'm not kidding you, it just hit me when you were talking. Well, the people of the organization, the employees, have been complaining about different things. And I'm not kidding, it just hit. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are. And I know we were doing it. I know we were creating it, but it didn't hit me till just now that look at all the complaining the staff has been doing about different things and about different people that have been a little difficult. So I'm glad you said that, because now I'm like, oh, that problem solved now.
But it's before it would be like, oh God, I'm creating all this. But on my side of things, it's like I am creating all this. So it's like I can continue all that same stuff, or I can do something different. So then again, like, so as we're talking right now, I could see you, and I don't know, I could see you guys all sitting around this round table, right? I could, and not saying that you guys are, but I could see you guys all sitting around this round table. And now each person's face I can see, it's like I can see like a light lit up on top of their head, and like they're all beaming, and you guys are just all smiling at each other, and everything is flowing great. To me, those are the things. That's where we create from.
Yeah.
The prayers, the meditations, that all of it's for this feel. We want to feel good. We don't, because we've been not feeling good for a long time, but we don't want to just feel good for a couple minutes, like taking a ride on a roller coaster, or that first kiss, or I don't know. There's so many different things. We want to stretch those moments out, and I think we can. I don't think we can. I know that we can have that all the time, but that depends on where we're at. What baggage am I carrying with me? What expectations am I having with me? It's kind of funny how this conversation kind of took a full circle, because it's how we started out, wanting, before we would have tried to manage the time of everybody and make sure. I mean, of course, we got to have some time frames, but I also trust spirit. I trust spirit. There's been times where I've been at work and it's like I'm waiting for the next person to come in. They're not here yet, and I'm shoveling in food. And as soon as I finish my food, they show up, even if it's a couple minutes late. It's divine timing. It's divine timing. It's just allowing the flow of the whole thing, and still being in that space and visualizing how great your day is going. See yourself with a smile on your face, regardless of what's going on around you.
And they wouldn't really, if somebody walked in while you were eating, they'd be like, oh, and all you say, oh, give me just a minute while I finish up my food. They'd be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, no big deal at all.
Yeah, there would be 100%, no big deal to them.
Yeah.
And when I, as you're talking about the round table, there has been several times where I have an awareness about something and I will talk about it. So let's just say I go in and I say, okay, guys, we are creating, and typically it's a conversation with each one of them. We're creating from these complainers that are coming in is because we are complaining, like it's a give and take. And so we need to be more mindful about this. And they'll sit there and they'll look at me and they go, oh yeah. And right, I can walk away, and I've had it happen several times, that somebody will come up to them and then they start complaining again. And so it's like, I have no control over that. I can only be mindful of myself and how I'm showing up. But I also know that I'm amplifying it when I'm in it too. So when I
Oh,
change
yeah.
my energy, it's definitely going to shift the people I work with. And then I don't feel like I know, because I've also seen this happen, that when I shift and I'm not contributing in that way anymore, or less, like way less, like way less, that the energy shifts and then they're not complaining as much. Like, I've practiced this several times. I mean, even in my home environment, I would come home and just be mad at the world for whatever reason, and everybody else in the household is me, right? Bickering and doing all the things. And I've gone into the bathroom, given myself an attitude check in the mirror and say, listen, you're creating this and everybody's being affected and you need to knock your shit off and let's start again. And I'll take a breath and I'll put a smile on my face and I'll tell myself that, you're doing really good and you got this, and give myself a pep talk and walk out, and everybody's energy is completely different. I've done it so many times, and now it's like, oh, okay, now we're going to practice it at work with many.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And I've witnessed exactly what you're talking about too, amongst family.
Yeah.
And of a story that was being told about somebody else that wasn't even part of the family, wasn't even part of the whole situation. And then I watched how the dad started responding. I watched how the son started responding. And I noticed how I felt like I got to get out of here. And then once I stopped for a second, instead of running from that energy, I recognized what it was all about. And it was like, okay, Archangel Michael, I need you to help me lift my energy up and pull, go into my energy, and let's release this and send it back to whoever with love and light.
Yeah.
So it really is, it's quite something to see, but it happens like that.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Snap of the fingers.
And the more the more I experienced it and really had the awareness that, this stuff is real. Boy, it keeps you on your toes for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's another opportunity. We always have these
It is.
opportunities to practice and be very self-aware of how you're showing up. So I could show
Yeah.
up.
And how you feel.
Yeah. And I could show up and blame everybody because they're being angry and upset and pissy, and say, well, because they're showing up like that, that's why I'm like, no, I don't need to do that. I need to decide, is it me, and take responsibility for me. And then if it's not, then I'm picking up on their energy, which is me contributing to their energy. And then I got to decide, okay, this is not mine. And so, like you said, I'm going to send that energy back with love and maintain my own energy. And I can shift my attitude very quickly and have a wonderful rest of my day. So it's that self-awareness is huge. And the more you practice it, the better you get at it for sure. But then, just like
Oh,
I
yeah.
just admitted having my moment of why are all these complainers showing up? Well, because you and everybody in the office have been complaining. So there you go.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about it?
It's like attracts like. It's not a punishment. It's not anything bad at all. It's just, that's what you've been creating.
Ben, well, I'm done now because that was exhausting having these people show up. So
And I would say it's not always easy. I
no.
think it gets easier and easier and easier. But when you're around a lot of people that are like that, and then if you find, that's where boundaries come into play. Boundaries come into play because you can't honor yourself from that space. So you set up boundaries. You
Yeah.
set up boundaries until you become strong enough to be able to be in that space all the time. And then it's like, it doesn't matter what they say or do, you're unaffected because you don't even need those boundaries anymore. You can drop all the shields. You don't need any of it because that was just only to protect you, to get from where you were at to where you are now. That's all that it is. It's not anything bad. So it's like some of the people we probably don't have in our lives anymore, there were healthy boundaries put into place. And it doesn't mean they're always going to have to be there. But until I can get to the space where I'm good no matter what, and I don't feel like I'm evolving. No, is it evolving? No, because I want to be evolving. I don't want to devolve. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to go. My mind's not thinking of the word
It
because it
was
just
slip
wants to
and
evolve.
slide backwards.
That's right. Yeah, we don't want. I don't want to be in that space. And sometimes I realize that especially with family, because there's a history and there's patterns, and it's easy to step right back into that whole history and patterns and everything with friends. But it's like that's where the boundaries came in. That's where I had to learn how to have boundaries until I could, because I had to honor myself. That was really what it was about. It's honoring myself, and as we talked about before, it's like loving myself more. It's not, and I don't feel like it's loving myself more anymore. But I've got to love myself. I've got to love myself and allow myself to receive. There's so many different things to be in that space, and then it's easy. Then you're around anybody, and you just understand that this is where they're at. This is where their traumas came from. This is where they're out on their spiritual path, and it's not to be judged because there's a lot of people around us that haven't judged us, and it's like that's why it's so easy to do a lot of this stuff. And to take the time and pay attention to it. Pay attention to how you're feeling, because our feelings are everything.
And it would be just like the lady with the committee. It was maybe she needed to feel like she needed to be heard, and that's the way she knows how to do it. Maybe she was trying to create a boundary, but coming across kind of aggressively about it.
True.
And maybe she's on a new path of setting those boundaries, and this is how she knows how to set it, by being very boisterous about it. So it's like all these different
That's awesome.
And it's like, okay, it would be just as simple to say, listen, the past 2 meetings haven't started on time. I joined this committee for whatever reason, blah, blah, blah. I would really appreciate it that if the time is going to change, that you let me know so that I can arrange my schedule. Like, those are almost verbatim the words that she was using, only she was not saying them with that tone. Let me tell you, because I was standing there listening to it, right? So
yeah.
We also have to recognize when people are having a moment where they seem like, I'm using the word aggressive, very forward in that type of space, that maybe, they have their own wounds. We've all had our
100%.
And I know when I started using my voice, or learning to use my voice and speak up for myself and set those boundaries, I was pretty bitchy about it. Like, I was kind of mean about it, but that's how I knew to do it at that time.
Yeah.
Right. And as I practice, I got better. So my communication is a lot better. And it too also comes around to that self-love and honoring yourself, and not being like somebody's doormat or a stepping stone that they're just holding you under the water, but learning to communicate differently. And that's definitely a practice, and it wasn't a skill I had, it was a skill I had to develop. So, and there's still times I struggle in expressing myself, because I get wrapped up in those uncomfortable feelings, and not feel safe, and I still my body will still shake a little. It doesn't tremble like it used to, but I will still shake a little bit when I'm trying to find the words or express myself in a situation that's uncomfortable. So practice, practice, practice. I'll be here a long time, so I'm gonna have a lot of opportunity for it.
I was just going to say, thank God for all those opportunities.
So, all right, my friend, we had a great conversation, and I really think it's very beneficial. So, you have any final words for our audience, or me, or you, or it's for everybody, really?
For everybody. Thank you for showing up.
All right.
Because this life is an opportunity for us to express ourselves individually.
Yeah.
For us to be able to gain more knowledge, to have more of an understanding on things. because we're going to be spirit guides before we know it. So, hey,
Yeah.
let's enjoy this.
And if you want to know how much we've been practicing, you just go back 4 years ago and watch these videos, because we've come a long way ourselves in doing this podcast. And so if you do find any of this information beneficial, please share it with your friends and family, or at least have the conversations and plant the seeds that would help others be and do better within themselves. We are found on many platforms. So we do a lot of stuff in Facebook, and then YouTube, and then also Instagram, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, iHeartRadio, and I know there's a couple more. I haven't looked them up, but anyway, we're all over the place. So there's no reason why you can't connect. We also appreciate your comments and questions. So please post them and we get back to you as soon as we can. Both Bev and I have like our, like we have a life. And so you're not going to get an immediate response from us. I'm just saying, it's not how we operate. So we will get back to you though. But we do appreciate you, your time and your energy for hanging out with us. And so we just hope that you're having an amazing time with your life, learning and growing.
Yep, create a magical life.
That's right. So thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time.
Bye.